Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button. And do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Fish Stripes Live, presented by Loop. That's L-O-U-P-E, and tonight we have a packed house for this Philadelphia Phillies Miami Marlins series. We have the original panelists. We have Eli, Kevin, Isaac, Alex. Noah's not here because he is at Citizens Bank Ballpark up in Philadelphia. And I want to introduce our guests for tonight's stream. First, from 5 Reasons Sports and the Fish Bros podcast, Jonathan Anderson. Jonathan, it's great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
And from The Good Fight, yes, we brought in a Phillies reporter, Ethan White. Ethan, it's great to have you on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
The first thing I wanted to just talk about, first, I want to get a little bit of the Phillies perspective and just everything going on this season. Just with the winning streak, managers getting fired, and what's everything happening there. Just how would you describe this season so far for the Phillies? Is this what maybe you have expected? Are they doing below expectations or above it? Just how would you talk about this season overall in Philadelphia?
It's been pretty much exactly as you would have expected. They can't field. That's just terrible. They can hit, but they're streaky. The starting pitching's been really good, and the bullpen has been pretty bad. So it's pretty much exactly what we thought it was going to be like. The kind of shocking thing was the fact that they actually did finally fire Joe Girardi into the season when Dombrowski specifically said he wasn't going to do that. And then lo and behold, he's gone. So the season has gone pretty much what we thought it would be like. If, a little bit down, they went through a little down period. But since he's been gone, it's been a completely different team.
Actually, probably you mentioned the bad defense, so I can't resist putting up one of the plays from the beginning of the game yesterday. Let's see if I have it here for everybody to watch, in case people didn't see it. This was from the very first inning. They put the runs on the board with our old pal JT Real Muto off the tip of his glove and going away.
Mr. JT.
That's Suarez pitching, right? What is he doing?
It wasn't Suarez. It was Real Muto. He threw it right to him. I
mean, the next part, the second part of that play, just, trying to flip it back.
I just don't know how the ball deflected to that angle. We were talking about that before.
It's not even that. Real Muto had no idea where the ball was, and that's what made the second run come in. So right there, he's like, where's the ball? And now you've got the second run. I give him A for effort. It's just the execution wasn't there. I don't know if you noticed that, but the backward flip execution didn't really appeal, but yeah, that was that. Do you have the play before that with Bohm?
That's all I had loaded up. I could go on. We could spend the whole hour just going through if we wanted to. Yeah.
So that one encapsulated the season, but the one about 2 batters before that with Alec Bohm, that was the one that really started the inning off. He had runners on first and second, a ground ball hit right to him, and I believe the runners were going. And the guy was about 5 feet from him. He stuck his glove out as if he was going to tag him. Then he didn't. And then he threw to second base where the runner was already standing on second base. So everyone was safe. It was pretty awesome. And awesome as in pretty horrible.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about the big free agent acquisitions that you guys did get this season. Most of us here really wanted most those guys that you signed, but, we had to end up with Soler and Avi Garcia. And we know what's happening there. Just how would you describe Castellanos and Schwarber? Are they just what you anticipated? Just how would you describe specifically those 2 players?
Schwarber has been pretty much exactly as advertised. If Harper wasn't hurt, he'd probably be the DH a lot of the time, or Castellanos. They had like a nice little rotation they could have done that didn't work out. But Castellanos has been pretty disappointing. He just is not hitting. And it's, we're in mid-June now. At some point, you kind of got to say, is this what he's going to be this year? I don't anticipate him being this for the entire season, but just lately, it's just not good. His swings are bad. He's late on pitches he shouldn't be late on. I'm a little disappointed at him. Schwarber is what Schwarber is. He's going to hit for low average. He's going to get on base. He's going to hit for power. What is he, top 5 in home runs in the league? That's more or less what you paid for. You didn't pay for a batting average with him.
Yeah, and lastly, probably the question I really wanted to ask is this the best version of Bryce Harper that we've seen? Because he's just dominating in almost every category: home runs, RBIs, average. Is this the best that we've seen of Bryce Harper?
Yeah, it's pretty much been continuing from when he got his face blown up last year. When he got hit by that pitch and he missed a couple games. Since then, he's been on a tear. It's been quite the thing to watch, in that he's just not really slowing down. Even with the elbow injury, he's just not slowing down at all. Thank God for the DH. Otherwise, the season, I would have to think the season might be in the crapper by now. But it's just he's right now still in the MVP race again. I don't know if he'll get there, just because people don't like to vote DHs as MVPs. But he's right there. It's just been a continuation from last year.
It's been a funny coincidence. The last game that he did play in the field was against the Marlins. That's how long ago. It was the Marlins season opening homestands. Yeah. It's the last time before his elbow got bad. Yeah. I feel bad for the guy because he's clearly wants to be on the field, but he's adapted well to the DH role. And you got to give credit to the coaching staff and to him for that, because he could have just kind of pouted and not wanted to do it, and he has not changed.
Yeah, and I want to go a little bit, talk about especially this last series with the Marlins that I think really caught probably most of baseball by surprise, just the way that the Marlins performed against one of the best teams in baseball, the Houston Astros. I don't think any of us, maybe an exception of one or two people, had the Marlins actually winning the series.
Three people.
Three people?
Not me. I was the opposite. I couldn't have been more wrong.
I had one win. Yeah. We'll start with Kevin. Kevin, you're back from your surgery, off the IL. What do you think about that Astros series, taking 2 and a 2 home run game from Aggie and from Jazz?
That just shows how good this team could be against these good teams. I mean, Jazz and Aggie carrying them to the win in the first game, 2 home runs. Then the second game was really a weird one. The way they scored these runs, the lineup was it was a sad lineup when you looked at it just from top to bottom. It was bad when Williams Astudillos and Luke Williams were both in, but they scored runs. They managed to do it some way, somehow. They got, thanks to Jeremy Pena's horrible defense in that one inning, they got some runs in there, and the pitching the bullpen closed it out. That was the Anthony Bass game where he had that crazy catch. That was a cool moment in the game. Then the last one, Lewis Head blew it up for the team. He hasn't been too good. Maybe we'll get a roster move when we get this lineup and the roster move. It may involve Lewis Head, so we'll see. But yeah, just a fun series to watch overall. Miami's beating one of the best teams in not only the AL but in all of baseball, in the Houston Astros, a team that has incredible pitching. You saw Framber Valdez, you saw who's the second one? Missing the second one, huh?
Luis Garcia.
No, the first one, Luis Garcia. Yeah. And then Justin Verlander, you put 4 runs on the guy.
That's unearned runs.
Unearned.
Yeah, unearned.
Yeah, but the guy was pitching. So it was a fun series to watch. That final game, I'm not too mad about it. Luckily, Edward is okay, so we'll take a serious win any day. And now they're a little bit back more into the thick of things when it comes to the NL wild card run, which they won't make it, but they're in it.
Something to call out that Kevin didn't mention is Braxton Garrett. That guy, he's been through a ton of crap in his career, going up and down last year, as we all know, having great outings. He had a 10 strikeout performance, and they immediately sent him down. He's had his struggles in AAA. He doesn't throw above 92 very often, which still worries me. But with this new slider that he has, on top of the great curveball, this guy can pitch, and it's definitely a free and easy guy. It looks good. He dominated a great lineup. I really had a lot riding on the start for him. If he would have come out and gotten blown up, I was going to be like, okay, that's it for this guy as a starting pitcher. But no, he's retooled, and he looks amazing. So not a prospect anymore, just graduated, but man, he's pitching some of the best baseball he's ever pitched in his life. And there's something to be said for that for this Marlins team that needs starting pitchers right now. So I like Braxton. I think he's definitely a different guy. And that's really, really, really encouraging. Probably the best start of his career was that start that we saw in this game against the Astros.
Yeah,
I have no idea how I did not mention Braxton. That was my bad.
Another thing, I wanted to ask John, what did you see, specifically from that one game with Jazz and Aggie, each hitting 2 home runs? How was it to see just the bats just explode like they did that game with Jazz and Aggie?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing was getting the momentum. I think we've all noticed that once this team has the momentum and has the energy, they can really kind of achieve whatever. We've seen that for the past couple of years, that they never really give up, but they have to find that thing that starts them. And so maybe that was the meeting. Maybe it was going against such a hard team and having everyone doubt them. But once they got it going, they can keep going until it's the end and win it, which I think the biggest thing to me, like the biggest surprise that I saw was that we, finished on all their mistakes. So all the errors that they had throughout the entire series, all the errors, bad defense, we came through and we got the runs that we needed to get, which is something we haven't seen in the past. So it's very, very good movement for us. So I hope it continues, but Marlins are streaky. We win 8 in a row. We lose 12 in a row. Win 8 in a row. Like, never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Isaac, Eddie Cabrera and Justin Verlander. Verlander won that matchup. I don't think, that many people had maybe Eddie, trying to triumph, one of the best pitchers of all time. Just how would you describe that matchup between the two pitchers and what you saw from Eddie going up against Verlander?
Yeah, I wish I would have maybe lived up to the hype a little bit more. I think it's great to see that Verlander at his age, I think he's 39, just still, dominating. He dominated the Marlins for the first 4 or 5 innings. His slider looks as good as ever. Eddie, he went really off-speed heavy, which is what he did last year a lot. So you saw him struggle a little bit. He was throwing, I think he was at 80, 90 pitches in the 4th inning, so they had to take him out. And then Miami was right back into that ball game. Brian De La Cruz single-handedly almost, got them back into it within a run in the 7th. But then, they've been really dependent on the bullpen the past few games, and you had to use Lewis Head in a situation you probably normally wouldn't have. And that, blew it open again for Astros. But, nonetheless, they won 2 out of 3 against, like Kevin said, one of the best teams in the major leagues. So you'll take that every day of the week.
We should probably get Ethan's general assessment on the Marlins as well from the outside, and from being, of course, head-to-head against the Phillies have gone the Marlins' way, surprisingly, the last few years. But saying the Phillies are kind of being the team you projected them to be, how about the Marlins? Were you entering this year expecting the Phillies to still be like a tick ahead of them in the standings? Or how, from the outside, has this Marlins season gone according to your general expectations?
I had the top 3 teams, Mets, Braves, Phillies, whatever order you want to throw them in. It's kind of like a clear separation between the Marlins and then another clear separation between the Nationals. The thing that I've always liked about the Nationals, and I wrote this somewhere, I don't know where, tonight's starter, Alcantara, is so incredibly underrated by anyone who doesn't follow baseball that it's just not even funny. He was my dark horse Cy Young candidate, and I'm starting to look pretty smart on that, just because I don't think people realize how good he actually is. Like this series, the Phillies are 9 out of 10, just come off winning 9 out of 10, but this is the series that really worries me because you have Alcantara tonight, and then you have Lopez on what day? Wednesday. There you go. I'm lost. And then Rogers has beaten the Phillies pretty regularly since he's been called up. So this is not the 3 pitchers that the Phillies will want to see, even though they're hot. The offense, you guys are kind of where we're at. Jazz has taken that huge step forward, and Jazz is going to kill the Phillies until he is no longer on the one. Hopefully he stays with the Marlins forever. He'll kill the Phillies as long as he's wearing a Miami uniform. He's just that guy he's just going to take that mantle. Looking just briefly, Garrett Cooper. I was just looking at it this morning, just kind of like prepare. Garrett Cooper. I mean, always kind of knew that he had it in him somewhere, and he's taken a little bit of a step forward. I think Miami should be better than their records shows. But I don't know. Miami always gives us a problem, always gives the Phillies a problem. And especially these next 3 games, that's going to be a big problem.
I wanted to talk about with everyone the standings in the NL East and maybe get a little one of everyone's perspective and just maybe is this maybe how you guys would have thought this entire NL East division was going to play out so far now in June? The Mets just soar above almost not just the entire division but the entire National League. Is that what you guys would have thought? I'm looking at maybe last year ahead. Is this really how the division was going to end up being?
I thought the Mets were going to be good, but I thought they would have, already quote unquote meted by now. They would have shit the bed some way, somehow. And even without DeGrom, without Scherzer, they're so on the NL East. It's a one team race at this point. So no, I did not have that. I had the Phillies ahead of New York in my preseason standings, and I had the Braves at third place, the Mets in second. So I'm looking wrong on that one, but yeah, the Mets have really surprised me this year.
I don't know. I don't think the Mets. I still feel like the Mets are still the Mets, and at some point they're going to Mets. They for the Phillies, we played them 1,000 times already this year, and the whole time it was without DeGrom and Scherzer, and that didn't really get us very far. But I didn't think New York was going to be that good. I still think that the Phillies have a run. I think Miami's got a run. I don't think the Braves are this good. I think they have a soft schedule that they took advantage of, which they should have. I do not think that this is over by any stretch from any of the four teams. I still think the Marlins can make noise in the wild card. I don't think much in the division. I still think the offense still needs another bat, but I just don't think that the division is over just yet.
Yeah, and John, just how have you seen also this division looking at it? I think most of us probably had the Nationals or where they were at in the preseason, but is this where you had maybe the Braves and also the Mets looking at the preseason, two teams that maybe most people thought was going to be the opposite way around?
Yeah, I had it the opposite way. I had the Braves on top with the Mets below it. I still think the Mets are going to met it, as we've all said. It's got to, even if they're getting DeGrom and Scherzer back, it's going to happen eventually. Their offense is going to tumble, whatever. I really don't know. I had the Marlins and Phillies kind of interchangeably, which they're kind of 2 games between each other, so they're pretty close. I do think that one surprising thing is how relatively close the Nationals are with only 6 games back. I think with their rotation and their team, aside from Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz, I really didn't see much happening this year with them. But not saying they're competitive by any means with that negative, I think, 86 run differential, but definitely more competitive than I expected them to be in the division, if I can say that much. But, I mean, all 4 of the top teams in this division are very streaky. So, I mean, as you see with the Marlins going 7-3, I think, our last 10. Phillies are 10-0, and Braves are 10-0, I think. So it can change at a moment's notice, honestly.
Yeah. And here we have the wild card standings, and obviously the top teams are San Diego, San Francisco, Atlanta in our same division. Do you guys see just either Philadelphia, Miami making it, trying to get to that wild card position, the last wild card in Atlanta? Because there's still a lot of season to go, only 5 games, still have the trade deadline. Is the third wild card in range for both teams?
Yeah. Go ahead, Eli.
Well, I think people know how I feel about the Marlins already. I wrote them off a full week ago, and they made me look silly by winning 5 out of 6, but I still wrote them off. They're just, it's a big hole. They're at a point in their schedule where they've basically no off days after this upcoming Thursday, heading into the All-Star break. It's a long stretch for a team that has a lot of uncertainty about their rotation depth. If anybody goes down, they're already without a lot of key position players that are not particularly close to coming back. So they are just betting on these super young guys playing at the absolute peak of their potential. If Gerard Encarnacion comes up, he needs to be awesome filling in and playing close every day. They need Edward Cabrera and Braxton Garrett to be legitimate solid starters for 5 or 6 straight turns of the rotation. And I think even if that happens, they're probably going to lose the majority of the games between now and the break and fall even further than 4 games below. But I'm kind of an outlier in that sense. I think other people are still saying it's too early to write them off. So hopefully you guys are closer to reality than I am.
Well, we haven't seen it yet, but we are going to see how the Marlins measure up against New York. Because after this series against Philly, they have 14 of their next 41 games against New York. So they'll see him a lot. So we're going to be seeing them without those starters, maybe with one of those starters if they come back. Who knows what's going on with their injuries? But yeah, that's a measuring stick for me, is how they measure up against the best team in the division, and we're going to see it. So I'm kind of with Eli. I'm kind of like in the boat that they don't contend. Not at all for the division, and wild card I don't see coming out of this division. So yeah, I, honestly, even with the expanded playoffs, I think it's a long shot to say that the Marlins are a playoff team, especially now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the wild card. Probably the biggest team, maybe the most surprising one, is probably Arizona, because I kind of had them like where the Nationals were at, and seeing them even above Miami is a little surprising. But just overall, I think it's a good thing with the third wild card, because it gives teams an extra push, kind of like Miami, to see what could happen. But I want to transfer a little bit and talk to Noah, who's at the ballpark, as is his bank ballpark. Flew all the way from Miami to Philadelphia to be at this game to see Bryce Harper. Has Bryce Harper seen you yet? Have you talked to Bryce?
First off, I'm not allowed to. We're not allowed to go into the Phillies clubhouse. 1, 2. Did see Chad Ochocinco. Pretty
Nice.
cool. There's not really much. It's baseball. It's ballpark. What do you want me to say? Want me to say something special? It's baseball.
What's the vibe? You can
What's
say
the vibe?
anything.
The vibe is I finally got a lineup. Been waiting for the entire day for a lineup, and we finally got one. But it was pretty cool to see Gerard in the clubhouse today. Gerard, I will never claim to know how to say his name correctly.
Gerard.
Again, I'm still gonna say it wrong. Also, there were a few other guys here on the taxi squad, but it's not really much news of anything. Pretty much just ready to go.
How did batting practice look? Did you get to see both teams, or how
Say it
did
again?
batting practice?
Batting practice looked great. Gerard was hitting it to both fields. He rushed one, I think, dead center. But you can't really read into much from batting practice, so I'm told.
For people that are confused at all, he was not officially added to the roster. They made the most boring roster move possible. They brought back Garrett Cooper from his COVID scare that was not actually COVID, and they DFA'd our boy Honoris Zabala after throwing the fastest pitch of the Marlins season to this point. That's it. That could be it. He'll clear waivers.
That was the roster move I waited 6 hours for.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
How's their press box, Noah? How would you describe it as you're sitting there right now?
Well, it's humid because it's outside. But
It is?
being from Miami, I'm used to humidity. I've been told the food here is second to none. I wouldn't know because nothing's kosher. So
Show us, Noah, at some point.
Any familiar faces?
Jordan, Christina, Louis, John Eric. There you go. And the entire Marlins clubhouse. There's your familiar faces. Oh, and Glenn and JP and Rod and Paul.
Valley Sports.
People.
Oh, Jordan just hopped on. I think.
And a wasp or two. There's always a wasp or two.
Okay. That's the press box report with Noah. Noah, we'll come back at you.
Do we want to get his prediction before he hops
Do
off?
you need your prediction? You're going to stay.
I'm going to go with Marlins take 2. And I'm going to go with Garrett Cooper.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. I will see you guys.
Adios.
All right. What a press box report right there. All the intangibles. Ochocinco, Bryce Harper. Only the best from Noah. The last thing I want to talk about before we head into our break is the pitching matchup for tonight. Probably one of the best pitching matchups this season. Sandy Alcantara going up against Aaron Nola, two of the best all-star Cy Young candidates in the career. Just what do you guys see from this pitching matchup, and what are you most excited about? We'll go with Ethan.
I want to see how Nola does with 2 strikes. It's been his bugaboo for the past couple of years. He gets 2 strikes on batters and then decides that that's the perfect time to put one over the middle of the plate. And the balls that are over the middle of the plate tend to leave the yard, especially when it gets humid at Citizens Bank. So I'm excited to see what he can do with 2 strikes. And I am actually kind of excited to see Alcantara just because, as I said before, I really like him as a pitcher. I think he's really good.
Yeah, this is a matchup of the 2020 shortened season opening day. If I'm not mistaken, I think Aguilar hit a home run in that game. So I'm, Sandy coming off another complete game that wasn't a complete game, 9 inning shutout ball against the Nationals. He's gonna have a much tougher test with this lineup. A lot of lefties in there with Schwarber, with Harper, with Stott. So it's gonna be a much tougher test for Sandy, but I'm very much looking forward to this pitching matchup for sure.
I think most of you already know this stat, but the Marlins have won 6 straight Sandy starts. It's totally unprecedented. In his career, they've lost most of his starts despite his individual greatness. And now they've won 6 in a row. He has not allowed more than 1 earned run in any of those last 6. He's gone at least 7 innings each of those last 6. I mean, the bar that he is setting for himself is super duper high. It's higher than anybody else's. It's why he is, to this point, he's been the most valuable pitcher in baseball. And it's really hard to dispute that with the combination of volume and depth that he gives them. There's really nothing new for me to say other than just admiring how awesome he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're muted, Daniel.
Excuse me. I was just going to mention if anyone has anything to say before you head into a loop break. If not, all right. After this break, we're going to talk about lineups, comparing the Phillies and Marlins bullpen, and predictions. So stay tuned.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
All right, so we're here back again after this loop break, and we are here to talk about the Phillies and the Marlins series preview. This is where it all starts. Very important series for both teams, and I want to start by talking about the lineup. The Marlins lineup has finally been released right before 6:20, so one of the latest.
But Daniel, you got to give me a minute to get the screenshot. I'm looking, right?
I'm just getting it ready.
Yeah, it'll be there in a minute.
And just
while Eli gets that going, I can mention a Sandy stat that we haven't mentioned yet, just to show how good this guy is. We all know about Citizens Bank. Ethan, I'm sure he knows about Citizens Bank and how hitter friendly it is. Amongst ballparks that Sandy has made 5 starts at, it's his second best ballpark in terms of ERA with a 1.
What's number 1? Home Depot.
1.84 ERA. His best ballpark in terms of parks that he started at least 5 games at is Truist Park with a 1.72 ERA.
Wow.
So two division rival ballparks. Truist kind of hitter friendly. Citizens Bank very hitter friendly. So
do we know what his worst
this guy is? He's really good.
What's his worst? Since you already had it.
Ooh, good question.
I would guess Dodger or Coors.
Yeah, probably
his worst ballpark. His worst ballpark statistically, he only has 2 starts there, but it is Dodger Stadium. His worst ballpark with at least 5 starts made at it is Citi Field, 3.55 ERA.
3.55.
Yeah, that's his worst park of 5 starts. Is at 3.55 ERA.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
No,
he did get blown up in 2 starts at Dodger Stadium though, 19.89 ERA. So yeah. 2 starts though, let it go. I just went by ballparks with at least 5 starts. So yeah, second best ballpark is Citizens Bank. So
and what's the All-Star game this year?
Dodger Stadium. Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Bet AL if you're watching. Bet on the AL.
Lineups ready.
And Sandy has a lot of opportunities to help with those division rival opponents because he will, play today against Philadelphia. His last start was against Washington. His next start should be Sunday in Citi Field. If I have that correct.
It will be.
So that's going to be a very important start for him as well. So let's see if he can just continue doing what he's doing all year long because it's really been nothing short of spectacular.
Here's what everyone's been waiting for. Here's tonight's lineup. Well, we had the Phillies lineup, but here the Marlins one finally coming out. Is there anything that sticks out regarding either of these lineups between the Philly and Miami?
Ethan Schwarber has 3 stolen bases?
I mean, broken clock's the right twice a week, twice a day, right?
What the cross? Okay.
3 stolen bases, really?
For Schwarber,
Wow.
You know what? That might be a guy on third, and they call it
right. No, you'd think, okay, maybe defensive indifference. But no, those are stolen bases for Kyle Schwarber.
Just look at the home runs from the first 3 Phillies batters and then kind of compare it to everyone else. It's just a little It's insane just looking at that top three
Well,
for the Phillies.
Gregorius has been out. He missed
Yeah.
about a month. Oh my God, Vierling's playing third. I hope the Marlins not a bunt.
No, they
That's
don't.
That's not optimal. I guess, well, Bohm needs a night off after yesterday. Bohm's been struggling. Castellanos is out, too. Castellanos is out. That's interesting. I guess facing Alcantara, that's probably – if you're going to give him a night off, tonight is the night, especially because you have the left Rogers goes tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, you give him the night off against the tough righty and let him go against the lefty tomorrow. Makes sense.
You know, Ethan, someone I wanted to ask you about is just, he's been in the league for such a long time at this point, just sort of been, in my opinion, going up and down this season is Rhys Hoskins. What type of player is he? What type of player can we expect? Because, he really has just gone on these crazy hot streak activated, but then he sort of cools down. Is that the type of player he is?
That's it. That is it. He's hot and then he's cold and then he's hot and then he's cold. And the thing that's starting to get worrisome for just not just now, but in the future, he's starting to get expensive. And
right.
Not that money should be an issue with the Phillies, especially after this year. Are you going to continue to pay for this kind of production? It's the same thing he's a very frustrating player, but the problem is they don't really have anybody else like him.
Right.
So if they decided to move on, then what? I mean, I'm looking at him now, and he's at a 111 weighted runs created plus. That's an above average player.
Right.
But he's not going much higher than that. When he's hot, that number will bump up into the 120s. When he's, for lack of a better term, not, he goes back down towards 100. It's still an above average player, but it's just it's really hard to say what kind of player is he's terrible defensively, terrible. Even for a first baseman, he's terrible. But it's frustrating to watch him because you want to like him. He's the nicest guy in the world. He's one of, if not the team leader on that team, and that's even with Harper. He's just so frustrating to watch every day. He'll go 0 for 27, and then the next week he'll hit 5 home runs in a week. It's a lot.
Something I didn't see coming was the Marlins possibly, you'd think having 2 sort of locks for the All-Star game, and they would have more than Philadelphia, you'd think this year, besides Bryce. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm missing someone in the bullpen or something that would possibly be the second.
Wheeler's a lock. Wheeler should be a lock.
Yeah.
Wheeler should be a lock. I forgot about Wheeler. He's pitching.
Other than that, it's really even JT. JT is just not hitting the ball.
Yeah.
He's just not doing it. You'd think, quote unquote, best catcher in baseball. I think he's up there. I just don't think – I think that mantle's been passed. I think now we're talking, someone Will Smith, someone like that. Yeah. It's been a great run, and I still would make that trade 10 times out of 10, even if Sixto wasn't hurt. I would still do it.
Sixto is still throwing at 70 miles right now for 6 straight months.
That's such a shame. That is, that's such a shame. It's we followed him. He was our guy, and when that deal went down, and we saw, we gave up Sixto for Real Muto. I mean, if you're going to give up a prospect, it better be for somebody good, and he was good, but it was still Sixto, and it's just such a shame. It's such a shame.
Yeah.
One other guy that
75 miles, so you're good.
One other guy to ask about is Bryson Stott.
Yeah.
That guy he's not striking out really a lot. 26% is not bad for a rookie player. He's not really walking either, though. 7% walk rate, But what he's not doing that he did in the minors is hitting the ball. He's just not hitting the ball. He has a 193 batting average, 230 BABIP. He's just been a big disappointment. It was a guy that was at some point mentioned, to be a trade candidate for the Marlins. So obviously that didn't happen. So what's with him? Is a trip back to AAA something likely for him? I mean, 24, you'd hope not. But what's going on with him?
He's been really hot lately.
Yeah. So what's been going on with him was Joe Girardi. That is it in a nutshell.
I was going to ask if that was a difference because I know
that was it. That's it in a nutshell because Joe Girardi hated young players for the Phillies and wouldn't play them. And when he was gone, Stott started hitting. I think he's the one guy that you can point to on this team that has benefited the most since Girardi's been gone. Thompson is Rob Thompson, the new manager, has more or less put him out there. Now he's out there kind of by default with the Segura injury. He kind of has to play there, but it's really strange how since Girardi has been gone, he's hit the ball. I think over the last week or two, he's got 5 home runs, something like that. I forget the exact number top of my head. But it's
he has
more or
4
less
on the year, so maybe all 4. I mean,
that's
I haven't
it.
looked at the
All
game
4. There you go. It's all 4 since Girardi's been fired. So
wow, that's amazing. I knew he was doing better lately, but I wanted to see if it was just maybe him getting hot. I mean, hopefully for you guys heating up at the right time. But
yeah,
that's crazy
probably. Probably it is him getting hot. I mean, he was a top prospect for a reason, and he's been showing it of late, and it's coincided with the firing of Girardi.
Yeah, to further your point, since the firing, in 9 games he's hitting .313 with an OPS of 1100, and he's got 4 home runs. So he
I knew it was better lately. Like the overall stats look really. Go ahead.
Yeah, he got off to a dreadful. He
was terrible.
start.
He was terrible. I mean, he
still,
was bad.
To do that in 9 games, and then your batting average still only 193, he got off to like the worst start ever, right?
That's how bad it was.
Yeah, good to hear that he's doing better though, because I like him. I think he has a good hit tool. I mean,
I think before he got hot, I think his WRC plus was in the single digits. I think he was like 4 or 5 or something like that.
Oh my goodness!
And he's brought it
still
all the way.
hitting 193.
It's still bad. It's still bad. I mean, his overall numbers are still bad, but I would just say look at him since Girardi, and it's just been a night and day turnaround.
Got you. All right.
I wanted to ask John your thoughts on this lineup. We didn't really get into much on the Marlins side and maybe what they're bringing out against Aaron Nola tonight. Just what do you see on the Marlins side? We see Jazz, Garrett Cooper, Horace Soler. Just what really stands out to you looking at this lineup for the first time?
I think the big thing for me is Cooper in the 2-hole. That's kind of been his home this year, and he has really, really killed it. I was looking at it earlier. I think he's batting .405 from that 2-hole. Compared to every other spot, and that's going to be huge. I think De La Cruz in the outfield will be nice. He's been slow, but I hope that Astros homer the other day helps pick him up. I don't know. It looks pretty similar to like a normal Marlins lineup. I would love to see Sanchez in the 4-hole with him heating up, but I'll take what I can get. With all the injuries going on, we got to do what we can,
And obviously, our good friend Avi Garcia isn't in the lineup due to his hand injury. So we'll see. We'll probably see Brian De La Cruz this whole series, I assume, unless Avi's back quicker than expected. But I think we're happy with De La Cruz in there right now.
And what do you guys think about Miggy being dropped? Or really, I believe he was 2nd, and now he's 7th. Where do you guys really like to see Miggy in this lineup between those two? You like to see him top,
where he
bottom?
is. Right where he is. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that they had him at 2nd for that Houston game, that final one, but he's usually at the bottom of the lineup, hitting 8th. I think they actually had him over Stallings at some point. He was hitting 9th and Stallings was hitting 8th. So, I mean, whatever. Biggie at the 7th spot is okay to me, as long as he's hitting, which he has gone and going. So, good for him.
Another thing, bullpen. I wanted to just compare these two bullpens from both teams and really get maybe your talking points and what do you think about how these bullpens have been so far this season, especially from the Phillies. Ethan, just what have you seen from the bullpen, and what is something that really stands out to you when you watch this bullpen so far this season?
The thing that's been kind of disappointing is Corey Knebel. He's been pretty bad since he got lit up by the Mets in that 7. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Phillies blew a 7-0 lead.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Since that game, he's had an ERA close to 6. He's currently hurt, so probably won't see him this weekend or this entire week. But he wasn't good before that, and it was kind of dicey because one of the things that Girardi did was he wouldn't use guys on 3 days or more, 3 days in a row. Wouldn't do it. And it cost him a couple of games. Their bullpen it's crazy. One night they could all just shut people down, no problem. The next night they're giving up 10 runs. It's just today they made a move to get rid of one of their promising guys, but he was so bad. It was James Norwood. they brought up Michael Kelly. I don't even know who that is. Is that the actor from House of Cards? That's as much as I know. But the best one has been Sir Anthony. He's been really good, and he's still coming back from like 3. He was off for about 3 years. He had surgery in 2020. He was hurt in 2019. Didn't have the surgery until 2020, missed all of 2021, and he just came back at the end of last year. So he's been out for a very long time. But since he's been back, he's kind of discovered this new pitch from a high-octane four-seamer to a sinker that's really helped him out a lot. Brad Hand's been good, but his peripherals aren't good. Jairus Familia is terrible, and the quicker he gets off the team, the better. The biggest problem with the Phillies is that they walk everyone. They're second in the league in walks per 9. It seems like every batter is 2-0, and then they have to battle back from that. They strike out a lot of batters. They just walk a lot too, and it's just a really frustrating thing to watch.
Something I noticed before Alex goes.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Before Alex goes, I wanted to notice that there are 2 former Marlins, Andrew
Bellotti and Brad Hand.
Yeah.
So
what I've noticed about the bullpen is that like they get the guys. Last year they got Archie Bradley, they got I guess Brandon Kinser after a good 2020, but those guys just can't click in Philly. That's something I've noticed. This year you get one of the best guys in the market, Corey Knebel. You get Brad Hand, who was pretty good. Jairus Familia, and you just can't get it going for some reason in Citizens Bank. That's what I've noticed mainly.
Alvarado is just a mess. He's just all over the place. He just came back from AAA yesterday and walked 2 guys in his first outing. Wow. He's one of those guys where you throw 100, but you don't know where it's going.
Remember?
Yeah.
I
the Marlins just DFA'd a guy like that named Inri Sabala. Anyways, to bring it up, he threw 100 miles. He threw a couple pitches 100 miles an hour yesterday, and the guy has no idea where the ball's going. Anyways, you mentioned it, Ethan, perfectly. The Marlins bullpen and the Phillies bullpen in terms of ERA, the Marlins are 0.001 points of an ERA worse than the Phillies, who play at Citizens Bank Ballpark, and of course the Marlins play at Lone Depot, which is problematic. But the difference in the WHIP, the Phillies bullpen has like a 1.44 WHIP is the walks. They have like over 108 walks on the year out of their bullpen. So if the Marlins can look at that and chase their starter tonight and be patient against this bullpen, they can definitely score runs via small ball. So I really think that the Marlins batters in this series need to be very patient because these guys will give up free bases out of this bullpen.
Yeah. One thing is tonight they are going up against Nola, who doesn't walk anybody. So
got to get him out early. Yeah,
if they're going to knock him out, they have to hit him out because he's not going to walk himself out.
Yeah, and really quick, before I want to talk about some top prospects for Philly, just what have you guys seen from this Marlins lineup as of late? Is it giving you guys some worry? Is it as well as you expected? We'll start with Isaac. Just really quick, what have you seen from the bullpen as of late?
Bullpen or the lineup?
The bullpen.
The bullpen.
Oh, the bullpen. No, phenomenal. What do you mean? Yeah, they single-handedly kept the team in the games all 3 in Houston, except for the third one where Lewis had just sort of shit the bed. Obviously, we all know about the 9th inning issues all season long. But you know what? Innings 5 through 9, when they needed people, they've been great. You know, you look at Steven Okert, been phenomenal out of the pen, lefty specialist. Blyer, still someone that hasn't been able to get it going yet. Even in Houston, he had an outing, and I think he faced 3 guys. He retired one of them, and it'll be taken out right away. But this bullpen really has been surprising me. And, you know, they sent down Zabala. He had a nice little debut yesterday, major league debut. But I think the bullpen has really been a strength for this team, for sure.
I think you can also mention Anthony Bass. I mean,
of course,
really good. I mean,
7th inning specialist, or 6th.
And then you have
the best guy out of this bullpen without a doubt, and he went. You'd think he's available tonight as well. He didn't pitch.
And then Dylan Floro is the only other one I would like to mention. It's been interesting stretch for him out today.
It's been weird. He refuses to strike. He refuses to strike anybody out, but he refuses to allow runs. Also, his stuff is still not back. Velo is still down like 2 miles per hour from last year, and but his command it looks a little bit better now than it did when he first rejoined the roster, and maybe that's enough when he mixes up his pitches as well as he does. That he's a pretty big wild card moving forward. If he was legitimately very good last year, if he actually gets back to a version of himself where you can trust him to be sustainably good, then that raises the potential of this pen. But I'm still
go ahead. Sorry,
I'm still unconvinced on Floro. So
That Zabala promotion was like the weirdest thing ever. Like that was so random. Like other than the guy throwing a heavy fastball, like why him? Like why? With everything that you have in AA to put on the taxi squad, they pick him. I didn't understand it, but whatever. He's back in the minors now. So
They don't reward good play, Alex.
I guess they just wanted a guy to send back down really quick, without risking losing much and risking somebody claiming them. I guess that's probably what they were going for, but it's just an odd situation. Anyway.
And for this pitching match tonight, it's two pitchers who go innings. So I don't know, talking bullpens, we might even see maybe even a bullpen pitcher, maybe very few tonight. For Aaron Nola, his last 3 starts, 8 innings, 6 innings, 8 1/3. And then for Sandy, his last 3 starts, 9 innings, 7, 8 innings. So just guys who eat innings. And I wanted to ask you guys really quick, if we can even see a prediction, just maybe who goes longer in this game. Do both guys go over 7, over 8? Just how long do you see both these pitches going so far this game?
Sandy's going longer for sure. Sandy has shown that guy's a workhorse. He's the one who's pitched the most innings this year as well. So Sandy will definitely give you 7 or 8. And what's so interesting about Sandy is as the game goes on, the guy's pitching even harder. He's pitching 100 miles in the 7th inning by now. So it's Sandy's a workhorse, and that's the pure definition of a workhorse. Aaron Nola is really good as well, but I think Sandy's just going to go longer this game. In Sandy, as you mentioned, Alex, that's the second best ballpark where he's pitched at in 5 or more starts. So Sandy's really good, and especially in Citizens Bank is something I think I've noticed as well as all of us here. And the stats prove it. He's going to go over 7 innings or more tonight.
Let's hope so. Let's not get too used to this because let's just remember.
Yeah, you can't hurt a pitcher like you could hurt him, but
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about really before we get into predictions, I wanted to ask Ethan what he thinks of maybe some of the top prospects from the Phillies organization, because they do have some really top prospects I love, especially pitching. Just what have you seen from really their really top prospects? Really Mika Bell, Andrew Painter. Just what have you seen from those guys this season?
Painter's been dominant, and I would kind of argue he's overtaken Abel as the top prospect in the system. I think it was 5 or 6 games before he was scored upon. And for a kid, I mean, he was a high schooler. I don't know what he missed with COVID and all the other good stuff. He's just been so good that I kind of am starting to take him more toward than Abel. The other thing is Abel's still really good. When they're ready, I don't know if they're going to push them there or not. I don't think they will. They're both in single A.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to push them just because they do have their pitching under control for a little while. Wheeler, Nola, and Eflin are definitely under for next year, where Nola's got a team option that they'll pick up for nothing. Suarez, this is, my one hot take of the night. I'm still not convinced that Ranger Suarez is a starter.
Yeah.
I still see him as like a long reliever. But as a 5th starter, he's fine. The one guy that I really like, the one bat, is a guy, Hao-Yu Lee in single A. He's been killing the ball lately, and he's one of those under the radar guys that I think you're going to see jump in the next year or two as long as he keeps going on the same course.
Yeah, you mentioned Hao-Yu Lee hitting 283 this season in single A, 7 home runs, 37 RBIs, 23 walks, 33 strikeouts. A really good position player there for the Phillies. And
just to call it out, Danny, Andrew Painter, covered him in high school with Calvary Christian Academy. Disgusting. As a 16, 17-year-old freshman, sophomore, that guy was already up at 95. He's disgusting. He's nasty. He's going to be a major league starter, probably major league ace. And yeah, I would agree that Mick Abel and him, I think they're both right there at each other for the top spot. But I would give it to Painter just because of how good he is, how many pitches. He already has 4 pitches, and he's going to be amazing. And he's what, 19? That guy's
made Yuri, the Phillies.
Yeah,
Phillies
exactly
Yuri
right. Yeah, has the size too. So yeah, that guy's going to be really, really good.
During that draft, I was praying that he would fall just 3 more
I
spots.
know. He was nasty.
And I told our other Phillies reporter, Alex Carr, that I was praying. I loved Andrew Painter. When I spoke to him.
Alex loves him. Alex
Yeah.
absolutely
So
loves him.
Guys
when we
should
had
love
him on the
him. He's great.
podcast, Painter was struggling a little bit, and then I think he became a Painter lover because I think if I remember correctly, he was struggling a little bit. Andrew, but obviously
Another name to mention that has struggled so far in his big league career that is in the lineup tonight is Mickey Moniak, who's first round pick, first overall.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got to
He's
get it
still a
going
prospect.
sometime, right?
He's
He's,
still
got,
a
yeah,
prospect.
he's number 16. He's their 16th rated prospect
I
on
know.
Pipeline.
Now, the only thing I'll say with Moniak is, okay, he hasn't been great, but look at that draft. That draft in itself hasn't been all that wonderful. I understood what they did that draft where they did the Correa thing where they drafted the guy who'd be cheaper to get somebody later.
Yeah.
That didn't work out either. Moniak is still – see, to me, Moniak is in the majors, so it's a win. If a draft pick makes it to the majors, that's a win. Where he goes from there, that's up to him.
Yeah.
Lefty
Braxton
hitter,
Garrett was
first
part of that
overall.
draft.
I understand the money thing. Lefty hitter, though, first overall. He's still what? Not old.
He's
right?
only
So
like 22, 23. He's still
24.
young.
Yeah, still
24
plenty of
years old.
time.
He
So that he could click on it anytime for you guys for sure.
Yeah, he just turned 24, so he's still a very young player.
Yeah, some fun names from that draft. Nick Senzel, Ian Anderson, Braxton Garrett, who pitched for the Marlins a couple days ago, Kyle Lewis, Alex Kirilloff, Forrest Whitley. That career hasn't really gone, but like Ethan mentioned, a really interesting draft. Quantrill is in that draft as well, number 8.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's time for our favorite part of the stream, prediction time. We give our predictions to your series MVP and who you think will win this series. And a quick little fact I saw, Andrew Painter, still older than Kevin. So Kevin was born in 2010. So
No, 2005.
Am I the oldest one here? Am I the old? Oh, Lord. Don't answer that.
You may have competition for me, but who knows?
So for predictions, we give our series MVP. It could be either a pitcher or a batter from either team, and then who you think will win the series. As we see our leaderboard with Isaac finally in double digits and Kevin up to second place.
Yeah, I came back with a near perfect prediction. If only who did I think I don't remember who I picked for MVP, but at least we got the series winner correct and the amount of wins correct. So something to celebrate.
Who was series MVP last time, Eli?
Yordan Alvarez. But
Yes, I got him.
none of the picks were really that hot in there. It was a close call between him and was it somebody picked Cooper? Somebody picked.
Did someone choose Altuve?
I think
nobody picked Altuve. Otherwise, he would have won.
So I want to start. Well, Kevin fix his camera. Isaac.
Choose me.
No,
last.
I'll leave you for the blast. I know you want to go last.
No, I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay. So you know the rules.
Okay. Well, Philadelphia Phillies, we got Sandy Alcantara, we got Trevor Rogers, and then we got Pablo Lopez and tough. Miami wins 2 out of 3. They do fare well against the Phillies, but not as much in Citizens Bank. But I think they're riding a little hot right now. They have a nice little hot bat in Jesus Aguilar. Jazz Chisholm will play up a little bit, and they have the best pitcher on the planet pitching for them tonight. So I'll go the Miami wins 2 out of 3, and the MVP would be Jesus Aguilar.
Oh,
Nice, Eli.
there we go.
I have the Marlins losing 2 out of 3. Just
What
winning
a
one
coward.
game.
God, dude.
You know where I am on this team right now. They're gonna have to keep proving me wrong with this stuff. But for the time being, I think they're just a really vulnerable team, even against an opponent that they have good recent history against. I think they're gonna lose Sandy Day tonight.
Me
And
too.
end up
I do
winning.
too, Loki.
Yeah, I think they'll win the middle game of this series, but lose the bookends of it. We mentioned Reese Hoskins kind of being kind of underwhelming overall, being a little streaky. I think he's going to be my series MVP for this one.
Nah, he doesn't touch Sandy.
Kevin, you're back after coming off the IO. How are you feeling, and what are your predictions?
We're feeling good, and I think I'm feeling good enough to say that the Marlins are sweeping the Phillies. They're taking all 3.
God, come on.
And that I've been thinking about who the MVP is going to be. We're going Miguel Rojas for MVP. He hits well in Citizens Bank. The anesthesia may still be on me, and it definitely may be. So hopefully not. Hopefully I'm right here. And, we're going all in.
Alex.
Oh man, yeah, this is a fun one. It's two very similar teams in a similar spot. Big series for the Marlins for sure. I think if they win this series, then maybe start changing some minds, like Eli. I don't know. Maybe you can kind of get there. Maybe I don't know, but I think I still will stick to it and say that coming off of a huge series win against Houston. I'll say they get 2. I'll say they get 2 of 3 against Philadelphia. Trevor does well there. He's pitched 2 starts there. He's, hasn't given up a ton of runs. He's given up 2 homers, but that's, part of the course at this ballpark. Sandy, as I mentioned before, very good there. And then Pablo, I'm not arguing against Pablo with what he's done lately. So pitching, I think definitely favors Miami overall in this series. Eflin has been okay. The win-loss record is not in his favor, but the ERA is good, so through no fault of his own. Gibson, I think he struggled a bit. I think that start is definitely a Pablo, definitely favors Pablo for sure. But at this ballpark, you just never know. But I'll say that the Marlins do enough. They get good pitching, and they do enough offensively to win 2 of 3. And I will give MVP. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I don't think there's going to be any blowouts. Good pitching matchup tonight, too, by the way. But I'll give MVP. Let's give it to Jazz Chisholm Jr. MVP. There you go.
The safe pick.
Nice one. Before I give my 2 guests, see what they have for predictions, I'll do mine really quick, short and sweet. Marlins take 1 out of 3. They win tonight. They lose the next 2. And then my MVP is going to be, let's go JT. JT going up against Miami. Let's see what he can do against them. I got JT as my MVP.
Jacob Tyler. Oh, no.
John, your series MVP could be either a hitter or a batter from either team, and your series winner.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be a tight one. I got the Marlins winning 2 out of 3. I think they're going to win the first and third game. Second game, I'm kind of iffy about. But I'm going to go a little bit of a different route and say that the most impressive player, rather than the most valuable player, is going to be Bryson Stott. Even if he's not on the winning series team, I think he's going to be the most impressive player of the series.
Oh, sugar. I hope you're wrong.
Good pick. Yeah, Miami won that series, and Jordan was the MVP, so that's a good pick there. Ethan, saving the best for last. Phillies reporter, just what do you think? What are your predictions?
All right, so I'll work from the back to the front. I think for the Phillies, coming from the Phillies side, I think Wednesday's a loss because Kyle Gibson's been pretty bad lately. I think tomorrow is a win because Zach Eflin's been pretty good lately. It's all coming down to tonight. Tonight is the marquee matchup, and I'm going to say that Aaron Nola has been really good. Alcantara's been really good, but I'm going to say that it's going to be Nola, and my player of the series will be actually, I'm going to go in a completely different direction, and I'll explain why. I'm going with Sir Anthony Dominguez because when these games are close, they're going to bring him in to kind of be the stopper, whether that be in 7th, 8th, 9th inning, wherever that may be. I think he's going to come up big when they need it. He hasn't pitched in a couple days, so he should be ready to go at least 2 games of the 3. So that's where I'm going to. I think tonight's like a 2-1 game. Something like that, 3-2, something like that. But I just think that the Phillies have been swinging some hot bats, especially at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, if you know Sandy with run support, it definitely will be a low-scoring game. Anyways.
Yeah, really quick before we go, Sir Anthony Dominguez, you mentioned 22 innings pitched, 3-1 record, 1.61 ERA, and a .94 WHIP. So really one of the better bullpen arms in Phillies and just overall between both teams. But that does it for us here, Fish Stripes Live. Go enjoy the game. For Daniel, for Eli, for Isaac, for Kevin, John, Ethan, Alex, this is Fish Stripes Live presented by Loop. And always, go fish.
I got the last word for Peter Pratt here.
Sandy Alcantara is a fucking stud. Absolute stud, Sandy.
Good night, guys.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.